But look, I mean, his two main things about reason and passion is one, reason cannot move us, only passion can. And since ethics is a practical discipline, it's got to be governed by passion and not by reason. And the second has to do with the fact that values are not objective features of the world. They're subjective qualities. Right. He gives the same treatment of values as he gives of secondary qualities like color and smell and taste, and as he gives of aesthetic properties like beauty. They are in the mind of the perceiver. Right. They are not objective features of the world.
That's a very Darwinian view. That's a very Ebbsite view.
And that's just a very scientific view, period, right? I mean, the notion that values are part of the furniture of the objective world is what J.L. Mackie, who was a contemporary moral anti-realist, would call a weird metaphysics, right? Because think about this. To say that something is valuable is to say that it matters. But to say that something matters without it mattering to someone is a very weird thing to say. What does it mean to say that something matters independently of mattering to someone, right? And so there is this, I think if you have anything like a scientific view of the world, there's a presumption against the notion of values being objective, right? They're not like rocks, right?
There may be, I certainly...
If there's no creatures in the universe to whom things matter, it's weird to say that that's a universe that has value in it. That's why most of the older objective views of value depend on God, right? Because even if there are no creatures in the universe to whom things matter, things still matter to God, and so value still exists. But if there's nothing in the universe to which things matter, which is the condition the universe was in 1 billion years ago, right? It's very weird to talk about there being values in it.
So in other words, to say that things matter is to say that they matter to a being.
Right. Mattering is a two-place predicate is the way I would put it.
Right. Yeah, well, you can get there that way, but when I say it's Darwinian, I mean, I think Darwinism adds flesh to the argument in the following sense. I mean, first of all, there are lots of people, including philosophers, who consider themselves very scientific in orientation, but they will argue about something like art as if one of them's right. You know what I mean? I mean, as if there really is a right, objectively right view, and that's, you just said, is probably not a very scientific way to look at it. So it happens, and I think the way the Darwinian, I don't want to say narrative, but let's say narrative. It is an account of how life came to be where it is. I think the way that adds flesh is with examples like this. Well, one example is aesthetics, but let's take one that's closer to ethical philosophy, like the intuition we all have that good deeds should be punished, good deeds should be rewarded, and bad deeds should be punished. And it's a when you examine it, it's not like it doesn't feel like a crude feeling. When you think, justice has been done because that person who did that horrible thing to that woman has been caught and put in jail, or has been killed, or whatever, or that guy who did that wonderful altruistic thing won the lottery the next day. It's a feeling that, it's a kind of a feeling that you are in touch with a moral truth. I mean, most people would say it's a commonly held moral intuition that this is the case. Now, I think you would say that you can argue in an abstract sense that, well, no, this is a value. And the value must originate with the human being. It's not like a value that's out there in the universe somewhere. It must originate with the human being. Evolutionary Darwinism now has a very plausible account of how this intuition evolved. It has a lot of detail and some empirical support about how
having to do with social animals and other.
Yeah.
Which is why you see proto-moral behavior in primates and things like that.
Right. It was a practically useful intuition in a social context of punishment and reward.
Right.
And so
for creatures that have a certain degree, how shall we say, of sophistication and agency, because I can point to the most social creatures in the world that clearly have no ethics at all, and that's insects, right? And so.
Well, what do you mean when you say they clearly have no ethics at all?
Well, I think to speak of an ant having values is just, is almost ungrammatical.
They behave altruistically, but.
Yeah, but that's an anthropomorphism, right? I mean, that's not
Well, no, there is a rigorous definition. I mean, altruism is something that is done that benefits another organism in the sense of at your expense, in the sense of increasing your chances of dying or something.
Yeah, but when the ordinary use of altruistic it implies that the person, it's done intentionally.
Motivation. It's often right.
It has to do with your motivation, right? But no, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying it's not just the social animal part. It's also a certain level of mental sophistication, right?
Sure.
I mean, yeah.
And more specifically, the fact that we evolved in a context where people didn't just do things, they argued about them. Yeah. There were societies where people said, wait, why did I hit him? Here's why I hit him. And and it helped them to have a heartfelt rationale for why it was right to hit him. So ethical, what you could call ethical discourse, we believe, has been going on for a long time, including during the evolution of the brain itself, and it's the fact that we evolved. I mean, chimpanzees do in fact punish bad behavior and reward good behavior when it's done to them.
That's right.
But and there are people like Franz de Waal who have argued that they see signs of the beginning, the rudiments of the kind of sense of justice in our sense of the term, of believing that it's good that good deeds be rewarded. But by and large, I think to get a finely articulated version of this moral intuition, you have to evolve in a context of language where defending your interests linguistically and defending things that are good for you and your kin and your group or whatever actually has Darwinian value.
Yeah, certainly the full-blown version of it.
Right.
Seem to require language capacity. But, primates have a rudimentary version of that as well. And so, you'd expect this to be kind of like on a spectrum.